Welcome to Grey Primer, a weekly show that's mostly about miniatures. My name is Nick, I'm your host, and in this episode, it's a rare thing. It's a Warhammer game that can be played solo. It's Warhammer Quest Blackstone Fortress. So with Blackstone Fortress, nobody's going to accuse me of being an early adopter. I am getting onto this right at the end of its life cycle. Its replacement for Warhammer Quest has just been announced with Cursed City. Maybe they'll continue to produce Blackstone Fortress for a while to come, but I don't know. But I didn't want to miss out on it completely because a few people in the channel had been recommending it to me for quite some time. When I heard about Cursed City, I thought, okay, I better go grab one because just in case. I don't want to miss out on it completely. And when I look at the miniatures on the box, I don't understand why I left it so long. There's some incredible sculpts here. And the fact that it's a solo game, I should have been all over this from day one. I'm very excited to see if Cursed City is going to be solo. Maybe they've already announced that, I can't remember. But hopefully it is. I'll maybe get onto that one a little earlier. But for now, let's get Blackstone Fortress opened up and see what it's all about. Back soon. So this is a very similar box to the Blood Bowl one, actually, in size. The most recent Blood Bowl, the 2020 release. I think it's even a little bit heavier. And I'm glad that I finally took the advice that I've been given to go and pick this up. Now, there are some very, very cool looking miniatures in this. I do like that it's 1 to 5 players, that this can be played fully solo, and 2 to 3 hours per session. That's definitely a decent game time. So let's get this opened up and see what we have. I said it in the Blood Bowl unboxing recently, I'm saying it again. That smell is just fantastic. That smell just takes me right back to my childhood of opening a new plastic toy. Just absolutely great. Love it. Okay, so let's see what we've got here. So I'm imagining this is the Chaos Lord character who was up at the top right of the box. I apologize if I don't get any of the names of these right, because the details are all underneath this box, so I'm not going to remember them. But some beautiful detail throughout this miniature straight away. I love all these animal pelts. The pauldron detail there is pretty fantastic with the Eye of Horus on it. And this backpack is a very cool design. So check out one of these red ones. I'm taking it there are no duplicates here. Maybe there's duplicates over in this grey stuff. Absolutely loving this robot design. He is too cool. Actually taller than I thought he'd be as well. Very much the level of detail and quality that we're almost taking for granted now is possible in hard plastic kits from Games Workshop. Some pretty interesting weapons here as well. I'm very excited, by the way, for Cursed City. And I'm sure we're going to see quite a few expansion packs for that over the months and years ahead. So this actually is a duplicate sprue here. So I'm just going to put one of them off to the side. And a few of these look like they're almost completely constructed. You can see that one there. Yeah, it's probably just one piece add-on or maybe 2 pieces. But some cracking looking models in this. Look at that staff. The huge chaos symbol on the top of it. Very excited to get in there. Not so excited about the duplicate sprue. I hate doing something twice in kits like this. It can get a little repetitive, but it's an easy thing to forgive if the quality is top notch. We have a divider here for protecting the books and game components from the spiky sprues. And as is typical, there's received a little bit of damage. And it's just a repeat of the art on the front cover. And then actually on the other side is a pretty cool Blackstone Fortress Warhammer Quest logo. I dig that. I will have somewhere for that to go for sure. Sometimes they're handy as just backdrops and photos for Instagram and the like. So I tend not to throw stuff like that out. In here, massive bag of multi-size bases, slaughter bases, and then a few loose ones as well. So I'll be very careful that I'm putting them on the right sized bases. Hopefully there's a little 1-to-1 scale sizing guide for the different bases in the construction booklet. What else do we have in here? Tons of baggies. Tons of these Ziploc bags for game components, I guess. And they do have a really cool design on them. That's a lovely touch. It'll be something that you'll not be thrown into the bin. This is a lovely little thing to have in here. A sample chapter from the Blackstone Fortress book by Darius Hinks. That's a cool touch. I like that. And a little advert there for different Black Library books. I'm currently listening to the Warhammer 40k book Brutal Cunning by Mike Brooks on Audible, and it is hilarious. I gotta tell you, highly recommend grabbing that Audible. I've been reading so much Horus Heresy over the last few months that I needed something just a little bit more light, and while the fighting is ferocious in that book, the actual orcs are just hilarious. You just can't help but like them. Anyway, that's the baggies and the sample book out of the way. There's actually a second size, I noticed, of these baggies at the back there. Got a whole bunch of different cards here, so I can show what's on the top facing one here with the New Threat, Chaos Beastman, and then Clarion Hospitaller Med Pack. So I don't really want to go into those too much because I think a lot of this game is discovery and dungeon crawling, that kind of feel. So I like those surprises to come during the game, which is, I think, fair enough. 3 different sizes of cards in this as well, which is interesting. So we had Legacy Discovery cards, we had Resource Stronghold Artifact cards, Encounter cards, and then finally Exploration cards. Everything is very well packed, and look really good quality. Bag of dice here. We got D6s, we got these standard white on black D20s there. Got a whole bunch of D6s. Got those custom, I think they're D10s. Those look like custom D8s. I like the look of this custom D6 with the blank sides. And a whole bunch of white and black standard D6s. This little guy here. Oh, cool. Hidden Vault envelope. Do not open until the Hidden Vault quest has been completed. I love stuff like this. This is like we used to get in the likes of Risk Legacy. And then we have a soft rule book. Oh, it looks like it's in a bunch of different things there. And then we have the playing surface, which is, oh my goodness me, quite heavy. And then a whole bunch of tokens and stuff there too in that pack. I thought these were boards, but they're not. They punch out, and then I guess they make up layouts like this. Cool. So first we have rules, and it's actually marked as read this first. And then combat, read this when a combat occurs. Is that good grammar? Never mind. For use in games of Warhammer 40,000. Cool. So Warhammer 40k data sheets there for all of the characters included. Precipice. Read this when you return to Precipice. I guess that'll make sense when you're playing. Background. Story of the Blackstone Fortress. Do I read that? Can I read that now? Do I have to wait? It said read this first. Maybe I'll read this first, and maybe in that it'll say, hey, it's cool now. You can read the background. And then we have the building instructions. And I just noticed at the bottom it says no glue required. I will be using glue, I gotta say. I much prefer to sort of shave down the pegs a little bit, get some glue in there, and then I know it's not going to fall apart at the worst possible moment. As we've come to expect from bigger kits like this, we have a full color instruction manual, and normally it would show glue points in yellow, but because this is push fit, we got no yellow being used here. Looks all pretty straightforward. On the back there, very detailed paint guide for how you too can paint your miniatures just like this. Joking aside, some of these, not sure about that paint job, but some of these others are fantastic. I love that sort of faded greeny blue look. Wow. What color are they recommending for that? Okay, there's definitely more to it than that, but that's very cool looking. And then a few of the others. Wow, look at this guy. Okay, I'm going to get them all built, and then I'll be right back. See you soon. In the past few days, Warhammer just released the remaining details about Cursed City. I say remaining, we still don't know the price or the release date yet, but we've had a good look at all of the miniatures. And quite frankly, I'm blown away by the look of them. I think they're fantastic sculpts. I think the details are really interesting. There are high points and low points, but even the low points, like the way that zombies are cast with like a gravestone or something on their back on a board, I don't really get that. But even the low point like that, for me, they still look incredible. They still look like nothing I've seen before, so that can't be a bad thing. And now that I've seen those miniatures from Cursed City, I will be jumping on that really early on in its release schedule, especially when compared to Blackstone Fortress, which I waited for it almost to have disappeared before I bought a copy of it, and I think I would have missed out on something really spectacular. The minis here, like the ones we're seeing in Cursed City, are just breathtaking. And for sure, within the Forces of Chaos, there are a good few duplicates in there, or, quadruplicates, is that a word? That's fine. Here I've got a representation of the unique sculpts. There may be cases where the duplicate sculpts, such as with the Psychers, they're different enough for me to bring them both to you here. But the ones that were just too similar, I've set those to one side, just to let you know that there are more miniatures in Blackstone Fortress than what you see here. Anyway, let's go through these individuals and just see how cool they are. All the Blackstone Fortress minis are easy to build, so you don't need to use glue, but when it comes with Warhammer Easy to Build, I have a tendency to just trim back the little connecting pegs and use a bit of glue just to make sure it's nice and tightly together and that it's not going to come apart at some point in the future. And they had the usual amount of mold lines for Warhammer, and that is to say not very many mold lines, but that there was still a small amount to clean up, but nothing that you wouldn't be able to get through in a couple of evenings. So we'll start with the red Explorer miniatures up top here, and this is the Rogue Trader. So all of these minis, there's just one of each. And as you can see, the red plastic sometimes doesn't pick up as well on camera, but I think it's doing okay here. I just played around with the lights a little bit. The sword is super skinny, and I was worried that I was going to snag that or snap it off, but it's worked out fine. Full of character, full of he's just so intriguing looking. His fancy clothing, his incredibly ornate sword. This looks like some kind of a dragon skin draped around his shoulders, which is just epic. And he's having a smoke there as he goes about his business. Next up is the Imperial Navigator. Wasn't such a huge fan of the head sculpt on this. I don't really like the whole hammerhead look to it. But the design on the back of the cloak is utterly exquisite. That's the Navigator, so let's get into the Ministorum Priest here. Thaddeus the Purifier. And he's like showing the book, like, this is why you're a heretic. Read this bit here. Yeah, that's why I'm going to have my armed servo skull. Yep. Check that out. That's why, according to this book, I'm going to have my armed servo skull fill you full of holes. Incredibly intricate detail throughout. There's lots going on there. So, very, very cool. And then we're into Pious Vorn. A completely awesome gun, a completely awesome sculpt, just glorious looking. Love the fire effect coming out of that brazier end, and everything about this is just pure quality. So that's Pious Vorn. I forgot to say actually the names of these first two. Oh, I forgot to mention the names of these first two. So this is Janus Drake and Esbern Locarno. Then you get into Thaddeus the Purifier and Pious Vorn. And then we're into the first ever Kroot that I've built. This is a Kroot tracker who goes by the name of Dayak Grek. And I don't know why I thought Kroot were shorter. Maybe I'm mixing it with Slan or something like that. But this looks fantastic as well. Love the rifle. Love how it is very much a unique figure. There's nothing copy-paste about any of this. And then we're into Amelin Shadow Guide, who is an Asuryani Ranger. And she has one of the coolest rifles in the game. I mean, there are a lot of cool weapons so far, but this rifle just looks really special. Obviously Eldari, and you've got Eldari iconography hanging off here. And great armor, great sort of cowl over the head there. I love the flicked out duster coat here as well. And just a really good pose. Just very, very strong looking figure. And then we get into the two rattling snipers. We have Rouse and Rain here, and I love these so much. I love this grappling hook and his data reader here, whatever he's doing. He's got a groovy little backpack, and there's just so much stuff to pick out there. And then into Rain. this cracker looking sniper rifle. He's got the headset up there. Must be some kind of maybe night vision goggles or some kind of enhancement optics. All of this gear going on in the back. Looks like a bipod there, folded up. Maybe a sniper role to give him a comfortable firing position. Just so much happening in this miniature. And I was just saying today that there should definitely be a squad of these. That would be something I would love to get my hands on. Be very cool to see rattling snipers or reconnaissance units baked into Imperial Guard and get us a proper squad of those in a box. I actually thought the robot had no name, but he's called UR025. And this is the Imperial robot. He is so much fun. Love the gun. I love the belt feeding back into this drum magazine that's attached to his back. I think he is just really neat. He's quite a large miniature as well. Let's just put him against the Rogue Trader here. You can get a sense of the comparative scale. So he's a chunky boy. He actually has his name, I've realized, just on his pauldron there. Hopefully you can see it. Lovely little detail here as well, just with his radio antenna up. There's a tiny little cap, almost like a petrol cap, on a car that has just been pushed up out of the way as his antenna has extended. And you can just imagine that going back down, the little cap neatly folding back over the hull. I think that little detail just makes this so cool. Okay, and now over to Chaos, and this is just classed as hostiles within Blackstone Fortress, but in all of the minis, there's only one with a name. So I'm going to look at him first. This is the Chaos Lord, and this is Obsidious Malix. And Obsidious Malix kind of gives me the vibe of a Space Wolf. Very much so. Obviously, the symbols of chaos take him away from that Space Wolf feel. Love the hammer. Love the plasma pistol. The flick of the robes here as well just adds to it. I don't know how that skull head thing works. Is that just hammered into his actual skull? This spike looks pretty awful, but in a good way. So that's the Chaos Lord. I'll get the Chaos Beastmen out of the way now because they've never really been my favorite types of miniatures. These ones are pretty cool though. I do like the mixture of the hand-to-hand weapons plus the pistols. The hair sculpt on them is neat. The seam ran right across the hair on both of these miniatures of the mold line, so that took a little bit of re-sculpting kind of with the tip of the knife to make it feel like hair again. But I do like these well enough. Certainly the dynamism in this pose, that lands well with me. Just have a quick look at the Chaos Marine here. They do one with a helmet, one without. This is the one without the helmet. You just got the bolter. There's enough detail around this to be an exciting prospect to paint. I've just come off the back of a weekend of Chaos and doing the Start Collecting Chaos set, and certainly there were more interesting sculpts in that, but it's not bad. It's still pretty cool looking. Then we have a look at the first of the two Chaos Psychers, and as you can see, the feet are definitely floating away there, and he's only being held in place by these three massive weights on chains that are stopping him from helium ballooning off into the sky. He's got the fingers to the head there as he tries to gather all his focus together to launch some massive psychic attack. This one's got the big staff here with a huge 8-pointed star of chaos on it, and again it's the same core sculpt, so it's got the same tethered weights and the floating feet, but it's different enough, I think, from the first one to warrant showing here. Certainly the completely different pose and everything that they've managed just with the different sort of objects in the hands there. Very nice. You get 4 of these Negavolt cultists, which are really just mental looking with this. You see these on electricity substations and stuff, whatever those little sort of ceramic disc things are, but it definitely gives it the feel like this is a high voltage opponent, and you don't want to be in close quarters with this thing. It'll light you up, but pretty interesting looking. Haven't seen anything like that before. You get 4 of these spindle drones, which are okay. They're again, a hammerhead kind of shape to the top, which for some reason it just doesn't do anything for me. It almost feels like it's missing arms or something sticking out here. But it's fine. I like the idea of it kind of tinking along on these sharp little metal feet. You get 4 of those, and then I think you get 4 of these Urgles. And they're okay. I mean, they've got lovely details around the face, and you can sort of see bone structure and their muscle definition, things like that, and they're creepy enough that you wouldn't want to meet them in real life, but perhaps not the most standout sculpts in this box. And then finally I'm into the Trader Guardsmen, and I have to say these were the most surprising unit in the entire box, or units in the entire box. These were ones that I'd just been like, oh, they're going to be so generic looking, there's going to be nothing visually interesting, and they have really stunned me. Look at this dude with his, hopefully you can see that, the grenade pin in this hand, the grenade primed, ready to rock. He's got the arm back, he's ready to throw it. And unlike other sculpts we've seen with grenades, he's slung his rifle over his back so that he can actually perform this action properly. He's not pretending to have pulled it out with his teeth, or had some hidden third arm has managed to pull the pin out. This guy's slung his rifle, pulled the pin, about to fire the grenade, and I dig it. He's also covered in accessories and pouches and grenades and bits and pieces. He just looks great. Love the pose. And then check out this dude with a flamer unit, the gas mask on. He's got like an entrenching tool, grenades, his water bottle in a pouch, an animal pelt across here, some spikes to sort of say that perhaps he's not quite fighting for the Emperor anymore. But that just looks brilliant. I am loving that so much. And it continues here with the next one, is in the sniper pose, and just looks so cool. Like, I love this. Love the pelt here caught in the wind. You can see all of his combat knife, and there's even pretty nice details in the rifle, like just a little skull up there too. This is just blowing me away. I really didn't think I'd be that excited about Trader Guardsmen. It just shows you what we could have if they did release like a battle force or something of Trader Guard. But look at that pose, the detail in this. These just look fantastic. This one's holding his combat knife under the rifle. Got mail hanging off the armor here. And again, just looks great. Now we're into the last couple. And again, this one looks really like he's just been caught on a windy day, frozen in place. Cloak floating off to the side here. It's a bit tattered and torn. Spikes out the back with skulls hanging in them. Even this little, I don't know if you can see it there, but there's a tiny little skull. I'm going to call it a brooch pin, but it's a retaining pin that is keeping his cloak in place attached to the armor. But it is such a tiny detail, and you would almost miss it. I guess you'd only really see it mostly when you go to paint these things, or you bring it up in a close-up camera like this one. And then into the very last one, it'd be easy to sort of overlook this as being plain, but it's very much not. I mean, it's got this bandana floating down here. I do like the shortened version of the rifle. The bandana you could do in a pretty cool color as well. Got this baton. But it's really at these tiny little details at the back that you would barely notice. The 8-pointed star on the water bottle, the tiny 8-pointed star hanging off like a piece of leather thong or something there. And I just think it's little touches like that which make each and every one of these Trader Guardsmen stand out as just phenomenally interesting sculpts. So very few low points in Blackstone Fortress. I didn't mind putting them together. There's a lot in the box, and I think that Cursed City is going to be similar. There were a couple of sort of slightly blander moments, the Urgles and the drones and the Chaos Marine as well, just the standard Heretic Marine. They're okay, I mean they're serviceable, but it's the rest of them which really stand out as phenomenal sculpts, beautifully realized, tons of imagination in them, and they would just make you want to actually play Blackstone over and over. And has left me feeling really excited for the next Warhammer Quest box, the Cursed City, to come out. And it actually makes me want to go and track down the expansions to Blackstone Fortress before they vanish completely. But yeah, that wraps it up for Blackstone Fortress, and this was a pleasure to bring to you. Had a lot of fun putting these together. I'm very excited to tell you that next month I'm going to be focusing just on orcs, looking at a little bit of Sigmar as well in there, so it won't just be 40k, but it's going to be orcs all the way through March. And I'm going to kick that off next Friday with the Ironjaws start collecting from Age of Sigmar. But until then, please take care, like, share, and subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye bye.